Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and technically doing a Runick deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is absolutely insane with how easy it is to mill your opponent's entire deck. This deck can win without ever declaring an attack, which is absolutely incredible. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell news so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like in your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Majesty's Fiend, which is the only monster we play in the main deck. This card is super easy to get on the field because all you have to do is tribute one of our Runick monsters from the extra deck to summon this card out to the field, because all of our quick play Runick cards have the ability that you can special summon a Runick monster from your extra deck to your extra monster zone, so you just tribute that monster that's on the field to summon out this card. This card is absolutely insane in the deck because it has the ability it cannot be special summoned, and monster effects cannot be activated, which is a extremely powerful effect for this card to have. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Runick Fountain. Runick Fountain is a really good 3 of in the deck that has an absolutely insane effect. This is probably one of the most broken cards in the entire deck. It has the ability that you can activate Runick quick play spell cards from your hand during your opponent's turn, turning every single one of our Runick quick play spells into hand traps, which is insane. It also has the ability once per turn, if you activate a Runick quick play spell card, then you can target up to 3 Runick quick play spell cards in your graveyard and place them on the bottom of the deck in any order and then draw the same number of cards. This card can let you draw up to 3 cards while also recycling 3 of your cards from the graveyard, which is just an unbroken effect. I absolutely love this field spell, and it's extremely easy to get to with our copy of Yugioh in the extra deck. We then play a single copy of Runick Allure. Runick Allure is a really good 1-up that has the ability each time a quick play spell card is activated, you banish the top card of your opponent's deck, making it a little bit easier to mill out the opponent by just activating this card. We then play 3 copies of Runick Tip. Runick Tip is a really good 3 of in the deck. Now, all of our Runick quick play spells share common effects. And the common effects that all of our Runick quick play spell cards share is that you can activate one of the following effects, but you skip the battle phase of your next turn. All of them share that ability that you can activate either or of the effects, but you skip your next battle phase. And they all share the ability that you special summon one Runick monster from your extra deck to your extra monster zone. They all share that ability, but then they have a unique effect that you can activate instead of that, which this card's unique effect is that you get to add a Runick card from your deck to your hand except a Runick Tip, and then banish the top card of your opponent's deck, which is a really good effect to be able to add any of our Runick cards from our deck to our hand. We then play 3 copies of Runick Freezing Curses. Freezing Curses' unique effect is that you can target an effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn, and then banish the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, which is a really awesome effect for this card to have to be able to just negate monster effects while also getting you some banishes from your opponent's deck. I then play 3 copies of Runick Flashing Fire. Flashing Fire is a really good 3 of in the deck because this card can actually destroy a monster on the field because you can target a special summon monster that your opponent controls and destroy it. Then you can manage the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck, which is a great effect. We then play 3 copies of Runick Destruction. Runick Destruction is essentially the MST of the deck, but absolutely insane. It lets you target a spell or trap card that your opponent controls, destroy it, and then you can manage the top 4 cards of your opponent's deck, which is a really insane effect that you can manage 4 and pop a spell or trap. We then play 3 copies of Runick Golden Droplet. Runick Golden Droplet is a really good 3 of the deck because it has the ability that your opponent draws a card and then you banish the top 4 cards of their deck, which helps you mill through 5 cards through their deck, which is really, really good. This card is super good, but you're usually using the effect of this card to be able to special summon a Runick monster from your extra deck, which is why I play this card as a 3-up. But if I'm getting close to being able to mill out the opponent, I'm not really worried about them drawing a card because the banish 4 is just so good. I then play 3 copies of Runick Slumber. Runick Slumber is an awesome 3 of in the deck that has the ability you can target a face-up monster on the field, and the next time that monster would be destroyed by battle or by card effect this turn, it is not destroyed. Also, it cannot attack this turn. Then, after applying this effect, you banish the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, which is a really powerful effect just to banish 3 more cards off their deck, while also protecting a card like your copy of Majesty's Fiend so they can't get rid of it on the first attack, which is really insane. I then play 2 copies of Runick Smiting Storm. Smiting Storm is one of my favorite Runick cards just for the artwork, but this card has the most high impact in the entire deck for milling cards, which is really good because it has the ability that you can banish cards from the top of your opponent's deck up to the number of cards that they control, which is super good in this deck, especially if your opponent controls a bunch of cards on the field. You can get upwards of mill 10 with this card, which really closes out a game. This card is super good in the deck, and if you only get like 3 or 4 mills off this card, you've done really well with this card. And then play a single copy of a Runick Dispelling. Runick Dispelling is a good 1-of in the deck. It has the ability if your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, except during the draw phase, discard a random card from their hand and then banish the top 2 cards to the deck. I feel like 1 copy of this card is totally fine because it does have to react to the opponent, which is why I just play this card as a 1-of in the build for the name, so I can keep recycling it over and over again. So that's it for the spells for Runick cards. Let's get into the tech spell cards that we're playing in the deck. So for the tech spell cards, we're going to be playing a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is a really good 1 in the deck, so we can get to our copy of Runick Fountain extremely quickly. We then play 2 copies of Pot of Desires. Pot of Desires just helps us dig into the deck because we play so many cards in this deck as 3-ofs. You're usually going to activate this card after you've gotten to a copy of your Fountain, because you want to be able to get to Fountain first before you resolve this, so you make sure you don't banish all 3 copies of it. But this card is really good because it lets you draw 2, especially since we play so many 3-ofs in the deck. This card is a definite 2-of in this build. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Polymerization is just to break the opponent's board, while also giving us a monster on the field, like a copy of Garura, and it's just a really good card overall. Just discarding a card to the graveyard that we can recycle back with Fountain to be able to get out 2 of our opponent's monsters is absolutely insane. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, I'm going to be playing 3 copies of Skill Drain. Skill Drain is just really good because we want to shut down our opponent as much as possible while we're trying to mill our opponent out. So being able to negate all effect monsters' effects on the field is just really good. This card is absolutely insane in the deck. And then we play 3 copies of There Can Be Only One. There Can Be Only One is super good in the deck because we're usually only putting 1 monster on the field of each type, which is really good because each player can only control 1 monster of each type. And if a player controls 2 or more monsters with the same type, they must send some to the graveyard, so they only control 1 of each type, which is really good because usually we're just putting a copy of Majesty's Fiend on the field and protecting it with all of our Runick quick play spells and using this card to lock down the opponent. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Freke. Freke is a really good 2-of in the deck because it's just a good boss monster to put on the field, because it does have 2,000 attack points, which makes it pretty big for your opponent to deal with. It has a really good effect that when an attack is declared involving this card in the extra monster zone, then you can manage the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. And neither player takes any battle damage from attacks involving this card, and if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or by card effect, then you can target a Runick quick play spell in the graveyard and add it back to your hand, which is a pretty good effect. I then played 2 copies of Hugin. Hugin is a really good 2-of in the deck because it helps us get to our copy of Fountain extremely easily. Because if this card is special from the extra deck, you can discard a card and then add a Runick field spell from your deck to your hand. And if another card you control would be destroyed by card effect, then you can banish this card that you control instead. And if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can return it back to the extra deck, being able to recycle this card. I then play 2 copies of Gary. Gary is a really good 2-of in the deck. It cannot be destroyed by card effects. And if this special summon card is in the extra, or if this card is special summon in the extra deck, you can target 1 non-quick play spell Runick spell card in the graveyard and add it back to the hand. And when this card is destroyed by battle, then you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it, giving you a pop, which is really good. I then play a single copy of Moonin. Moonin is a good 1-of. You only need a single copy of Moonin in the deck. As you believe, if this card is special summoned from the extra deck, then you can discard a card to add a Runick continuous spell from your deck to your hand, which is going to be your copy of Runick Allure, which is why I just play this card as 1-of, because we only play a single copy of Runick Allure. And also has the ability when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Runick cards that you control, or a set cards that you control, quick effect, you can banish this card that you control to negate the activation. And if you do, destroy that card. And then once per turn during the end phase, gain 1,000 life points, which can be a pretty good effect to be able to gain that 1,000 life points. We then play a single copy of Mud Dragon of the Swamp. Mud Dragon is a really good one of in the deck because it's a good super poly target to be able to use in this particular build. Play a single copy of Starving Venom. Starving Venom is a good one of as well to use as a super poly target, and it can also get absolutely massive on the field, so it can be really hard to your opponent to get past this card to get at your life points. Then play a single copy of Dracos Tapalia because we do have the room in the extract to make it, which is really nice. I love this card as a one of in the deck because it's super easy to just put this card on the field and use it as a walking negate. We then play a single copy of Garura. Garura is a good super poly target, and the card I'm usually going into in the extract because any battle damage inflicted to your opponent involving this card is double, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to draw a card, which is a good effect to be able to just draw additional cards in this deck. And then play a single copy of Phoenix to pop spells and traps, one copy of Cerberus to pop monsters just in case I need to, one copy of Blockade Borg Blocker. Blockade Borg is a really good one of in the deck because it helps you get your copy of your Runick field spell back out of the graveyard just in case you need it. And then finally a single copy of Gravity Controller because all of your Runick monsters can be special summon off the quick play spells, so you can link them away for Gravity Controller, which is a pretty good effect. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is really fun to be able to mill out the opponent. I love the tech cards that I've included in this deck, like Skill Drain and the copies of Majesty's Fiend. Majesty's Fiend is just so good in this deck, and I absolutely love this card. It's really insane just to be able to normal summon this over one of the monsters that you summon in the extra monster zone once you've used their effects, and then be able to just lock down the opponent. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.